Let's rock and roll. Good afternoon, folks. Today is Thursday, August 30th, and welcome to the Nevada Commission for the Reconstruction of the V&T Railway meeting. If you would stand with me and do the Pledge of Allegiance, that'd be great. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody. Elaine, would you do the roll call for us?
Jack McGuffey.
Here.
Nick Morano.
Here.
Denny Dotson.
Here.
Joel Dunn.
Here.
Stan Jones.
Present.
Great, thank you. We'll move on to agenda item B for possible action, the approval of the agenda. Do we have any changes or anything on the agenda? Do we have any comment?
No.
Anything from the public on today's agenda? Hearing nothing, I'll call for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve today's agenda.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to agenda item C, public comment. This will be for items that are not on today's agenda. Anybody like to come up and speak? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Marcia Burgess from Northern Nevada Railway Foundation. I'm here today because the foundation received a donation of a VNT safe quite a few years ago, and we had stored it because at the time the depot was not structurally sound to hold a 2,000-pound safe, and the security was not there. And it's been stored for quite a few years, and we decided that it's time that something should be done with it now that you have the bigger building and some security up there. The safe is a V&T 1868 railroad company. It has a picture of a train on the front of it with gold leaf. Its maker is McNeil and Urban, and they made safes from 1860 to 1903. This safe is 43 inches high. The width is 30 inches. The depth is 27 and a half inches. The weight is approximately 2,000 pounds. As you can understand why it was not put into the trailer. It was not structurally sound to hold it. This safe was donated by Bill Hartman and his family, and their wish was to have it in the depot when it was safe and secure. And we feel now is the time that you should have it, and we would like to give it back. Not give it back, but give it to you. So if you have any questions on it, I have the name of the individual who is storing the safe for us. And if you decide that you want it, it's a beautiful safe. If you decide that you want it, you contact this individual and make arrangements to have it moved. Any questions?
Where is it presently located?
It's at 98 Ruby Lane.
Okay.
So it's here in Carson City?
It's here in Carson City, yes.
Wow, awesome. Yeah, I think that's a no-brainer. I do know that the Gold Hill Depot has a smaller version of a V&T safe inside the building there, and that would be a nice bookend piece to have something similar, much larger sounds like, than this one.
It is large.
But I don't think that's even something we have to put on the agenda. I think that's a pretty good idea. We'd probably just look to Elaine to coordinate that for us. If there's any other comment from the board.
No.
Is it a usable safe?
Yes, it is. It has a combination, and it has two doors. It has an inner safe inside,
Oh, cool.
and then it has the big door.
Yep.
The original had trays in their drawers. Those have been removed, and I'm not sure exactly where they're at, if we took them out to move it or if it was taken out before we got it. But yes, it's usable, and we have a combination for it. I'm the only one that has it. So if you need something, you're going to have to contact me. No, I'd be more than happy to give it to you. The gentleman that has the safe, his name is Dan Webster, and I'll give you his phone number, Elaine, so that you guys can contact him and make arrangements to have it moved.
So it sounds like you'd have to have a forklift or.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I have moved a couple of safes, not quite 2,000 pounds. The ones I've moved have been about 1,400 or 1,500, and there are dollies that are equipped to handle that weight. So they might be out there, but it still takes 4 or 5 guys.
Well, I had it moved with the gun safe company in Reno, because they had done some gun safes for me, and I called them up and asked them if they would be willing to move this safe. It's not a gun safe, but it was shorter and heavier, and they came out and did it. So that might be a contact for you to use to have them do it, because some of the movers will not touch it.
Yeah.
And you have to respect that because it's heavy, and the thing is, if it gets damaged, you're not going to replace it. They don't want to replace it.
Awesome. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. That's neat.
are
And
welcome.
that could be a little PR story there, too, something kind of coming back to the VNT.
Yeah.
That's cool.
All righty. Well, thank you very much, and Elaine, I'll give you that number. And I'm sorry I have to run. I've got another
Okay.
appointment.
Thanks again. Appreciate it. Any other public comment today? Hearing none, we'll move on to agenda item D for possible action, approval of the meeting minutes for July 26, 2018. Any comments from the board? Do we need comment from the public on this item? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of meeting for July 26th, 2018.
Jack, were you here?
No. I'll have to abstain.
Oh.
I love the motion, but I think we might have somebody else.
Then
Go with
I'll
that one.
rescind my motion. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the July 18 minutes.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
I'll abstain on record as absent also.
Okay. We'll move on to agenda letter E for discussion of possible action. Review proposals for an additional septic tank needed for the extra capacity at the V&T Railway facility. And Elaine, I believe there was a handout in our packet. I'll let you take it from there.
So this has been a project that Stan Jones and I have been working on. It's not have been an enjoyable project. I actually have to monitor the tank after every weekend to see how full it is. And so we pull the lid off and everybody looks inside to see where we're at. And I can tell you, we make 2 weekends and that's it. And so it became a concern at the beginning of this season based on the fact that the alarm kept going off and we were calling in for additional service. We did have a leak problem for a while there, and we got that fixed, but yet it tended to still fill up so quickly that we brought in Ken and asked him, about the history of it, size, what was going on there. And we do indeed have a 2,500-gallon tank. And Ken can fill in all the details and all the history, but it was originally permitted just for the office. It wasn't permitted for public restroom facilities. So Stan has ordered toilets that are low water usage. We've also got the faucets that you tap on and they'll automatically turn off. Those will be coming. So we're doing all the precautionary routes that we're taking those routes as well. But Ken had the best idea, and it seemed that it was filling up so quickly that the capacity has been diminished based on possibly sludge that is just hardened. So we don't have a 2,500-gallon tank. We don't know what we have, but Ken took the lead, and he has worked with Gary Luce on adding an additional tank, because come Polar Express, and I spoke with people that have volunteered or been there during Polar Express, and even our own staff, they said every 2.5 days it was out there, or the pump trucks were out there. And we're looking at maybe 900 people a day. That's right now, that's like a month to us. So trying to plan ahead, we want to be prepared for our larger capacities. And Polar Express is is unique, but what happens if we add more trains? What happens when we grow? A 2,500-gallon tank's not going to handle it in the long run, even if we are able to clean out the current tank. But Ken, did you want to say some things about it?
Sure, Lynn, thanks. Basically, we took a look at the situation. There was an existing, I had to pull the plans in the old NDP permit. There was an existing 2,500-gallon tank placed, and that was when we placed the initial building, and that was to support one bathroom and a kitchen sink. Then obviously the 4-bathroom structure was added, and there was no additional capacity. I don't think anybody anticipated it was going to have to be, the tank was going to have to be pumped that much as frequently as we've had to. One of the things that's a huge help is just putting the new toilets instead of the 1.6-gallon toilets, which tend to not shut off. This is the new toilets. 5 of them would be I think it's 1.28 gallons per flush, but the lavatory faucets were just turn on, let them run. I think that was part of the problems there too. And so what Stan is working on getting is the little ones that shoot less than a quarter of a gallon by pushing the button down, and they are on for like 6-7 seconds. So that in itself is going to be a big help. Bottom line is, 2,500 gallons is really too small for 5 bathrooms, particularly during polar. When Elaine first started having the issue, they had a contractor come out, and he actually provided I don't want to say this delicately, an unsolicited proposal to take out the 2,500-gallon tank and put in 2 5,000-gallon tanks for a total of 10,000 gallons of storage, and that was going to be about $70,000 was his proposal, which seemed a little high to me. So looking at it, we decided there's really nothing wrong with the 2,500-gallon tank. It's got the alarm system hooked onto it, so we came up with not a genius solution, but basically just adding a 5,000-gallon tank where this one would act in parallel with the 2,500-gallon. Alarm system stays the same. Basically, the sewer plumbing doesn't have to modify. There's a water and electrical line that have to get relocated, but not a big deal. And based on that site plan, I actually went ahead and we ran for a Carson City building permit because they need to get a permit from Carson. We also need to upgrade our NDEP permit for the new addition. And based on that design we came up with, we went out and we solicited proposals from 3 separate contractors. We only received 1 bid, which was from Reconstruction, and it wasn't quite $60,000. It was $27,620 to include the new tank, excavation, relocation of the water and electric lines, and a thorough cleaning of the existing tank, backfilling, and sprucing everything up. So that's where we're at right now. I think Lane's looking for some info for the board. Should we go forward with the award of the contract to Armac Construction? And again, talking to Mike, we've solicited 3 proposals because of the amount. That's all we needed to do, and we're covered there for NRS. The next step will be I've got applications package to go into NDEP that supports the new construction calculations and quite a bit of paperwork. It's NDEP, it's a state agency. And unfortunately, it's even though they're calling it a permanent permit, we still have to pay a $200 yearly fee. And I think that's to deal with the fact that this is, holding tank is being issued under nationwide pollution control permit that NDEP has or the state has. So we're still stuck paying that fee. That's really about it. So that's the one item. Basically, at this point, it's just a matter of if the board wants to proceed with that cost, then we go ahead and get the contractor on board and finish up the permits and put the tank in and make sure it's in there before polar, which shouldn't be a problem.
It's my understanding that this current 2,500 gallon system doesn't have a leach field or a leach line.
That's correct. Eastgate in its entirety was never envisioned to be a terminal/station. It was all just going to be a siding. When it became obvious it was going to be a while before we could actually get down to building a terminal, we looked at, okay, what can we do to start some interim operations? The problem with putting a leach line out there was that, number one, there wasn't sufficient right-of-way without acquiring additional right-of-way from the BLM. We'd probably have to put a separate leach field down at the base of the embankment to fill, short of tearing up some parking area, which is unfortunately takes us out of our BLM lease. So the holding tank was really the solution. Carson City also has got, I don't think there's been any applications, but the previous project that I worked on in that area was for pick and pull way back in the day, and Carson City would not allow pick and pull to put a septic system in, so they were also required to put in a holding tank facility to support their restrooms at the pick and pull site. And I don't think there's been any additional work out in that quadrant of Carson City since then. So they've got, basically they say no septic, however, the sanitary sewer is about $4 million away, so it does not have a leach field.
Ken, Ron was comfortable getting this put in before Polar Express this year? Okay.
Yes.
And just one other thing, if you look at the estimate, it also included some work on the existing tank, and that would be cleaning that tank out. So therefore, we'll have that capacity in addition to the other.
One other comment is, on all these purchases now, we worked very closely with Hugh Gallagher, and he's aware, and he says we have the funds to move forward. So, he's aware of it anyway.
Elaine, in the last meeting, I had some real reservations. One, it was a lot of money because the first price tag was about $70,000. Two, there was just so many questions and information we didn't have. You provided it here. I'm completely comfortable. I've also talked with you. We do have money in capital expense that we budgeted $50,000. And again, you've done your due diligence here. Thank you, and I'm completely comfortable with further discussion on this or moving forward.
I'm comfortable with making a motion if we're ready. Okay, make a motion to move forward with the proposal from RMAC to add an additional holding tank, bringing the capacity to 7,500 gallons at the V&T.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any public comment on this item?
Denny, I have a question.
Yes.
And it's more for Ken. I just want to be sure that this is the correct reading. In the proposal by RMAC, it says wiring by others. What would be the cost for the electrician?
We don't have a number on that, Ron, Mike, but it should be probably less than $1,000. Basically, Ron doesn't have an electrical license. He's agreed to go and pull the permit and be responsible for the electrician. But we're going to have to hire an electrician to run basically 30 foot of wiring from the depot to the existing restroom, which is in the way. He's going to put the conduit in, so if it's $500, it would surprise me. But I'm sure it's going to be less than $1,000.
So with that, I'll amend my motion to include the existing proposal by RMAC of $27,620 with the additional cost of the subcontracted electrician not to exceed a total amount of $30,000.
Any other public comment? Mr. Lincoln?
Stephen Lincoln. I'm just curious, if they move the depot, Ken, is there going to be a chance of a leach field out there, or would they be able to move this 5,000 gallon tank over to the new location and sort of keep some of the money?
We, in the conceptual design of the Eastgate expansion, we did provide for a quote-unquote reserved area for a commercial leach field, if you will. Now, that still doesn't get us through is Carson City going to allow that? Hopefully, that project, if it ever goes forward, would go in conjunction with the point when there's some additional development, private development in their area where they're going to need sanitary sewer. In which case, then we would obviously hook into that sanitary sewer. But, the commission, if we have money for that depot, I don't think we want to spend $4 million or thereabouts for bring in a sewer main from a mile away, basically. But yes, we would put a leach field in there. We would have to abandon this tank. Probably the thing is we'd dig it out of the ground and fill the ground. And if you want an old leach or a holding tank, it's probably would be sold at a bargain price. So.
Any other public comment? One other note that I did have, Elaine, on this item was that I got to look at the budget, and I noticed that we did not budget a line item for having the tank pumped through our utilities at the depot. We included some other things, obviously, but we didn't include that one. So as we go forward, that'll be an item we want to include. So with that, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, we'll move on to agenda letter F for discussion and possible action. August 2018 financial reporting, including revenue and expenses totals for the month of August. Elaine?
We do not have Hugh today, but he promises as soon as he has, we've got all the figures adjusted, and there will be some amendments. It's been a process. Hugh and I meet at least twice a week, and we go over the numbers. We're looking at, we verified that all the funds have been received from the various entities. We did get the plate money that was held for quite a few months in the amount of $10,359. So that was taken care of. Hugh and I did attend the special license plate commission for the state of Nevada, and they approved the funds being forwarded to Story County versus Carson City. So that should be coming in regularly. But right now, I can report that for the month of August, our revenue was $202,387. Our expenses, including credit card fees and anything you can imagine, even some rollover from fiscal year 2017, it was $134,175. Even with accepting the additional funds or the additional expenses for the prior year or maybe the prior month, you can see why there'll be some adjustments because we're at the first of the fiscal year, and sometimes those have to be moved back to the correct year. We still ended with more than $66,000 in the black, based just on our revenue for August. So overall, starting since train season, and this number is definitely going to go up because we had some money that was transferred. This is just revenue that was brought in by the train itself, $352,596. I just spoke about the license plate revenue of $10,000 plus. Our credit card receipts right now that are sitting in the bank are $129,532. And so for a total of nearly $500,000 since the season began. It's $488. Our expenses overall have only been $171,000. So our balance just for our trains and our operation is $320,000. So again, still in the black, thanks to Polar Express. A lot of that thanks goes to Polar Express, and then also the assistance of Carson City. And we're going to be getting Story County's $125,000 coming in, but so far so good. But we know when the lean years or lean months are coming, and we'll be ready for that. But right now the commission sits whole.
Any questions from the board? No? Any questions from the public? Oh, Ken.
Yeah, and I'm sure that I've probably mentioned this before, but one of the things that never shows up in any accounting sheet is the Carson City Public Works has always been just a tremendous help on this project. And very seldom do we ever get a bill for them, but the Public Works Department comes in and cleans up the parking area, fixes potholes, and I think they even did some mechanical work to replace an operative valve in the big fill tank or fill spout that we use to fill the tenders and whatnot. So I just want to bring out the fact that there's not a lot of cash necessarily, or you forget about the cash, but Carson City Public Works has just been wonderful helping us out with stuff that if we had to contract for would be a significant amount. So just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, maybe we should send a thanks, some kind of recognition to them. do some kind of PR thing for them.
They like to ride on the Polar Express.
That's right, and that's what, we've got them on the list.
Okay.
Yes, and in fact, I met the guys yesterday out at the depot, and we were, Stan will be reporting on another project they're helping us with, and they're very excited to hear that they were on the invitation list, they and their families.
Right.
That was a pretty big deal to them.
Good.
Okay, I think we can go ahead and move on to item G on the agenda for discussion only. Engine number 18, status update by Tom Gray. I don't think Tom's here today, but we're going
He's
to
not.
get an update from Nick here.
So, Mr. Chairman, about 2 weeks ago, Elaine and I had an opportunity to go out to the maintenance depot. We met with Tom. The objective was to discuss Engine 18 and specifically the timeline when we'd be able to get Engine 18 back on, pulling passengers, pulling cars. So Tom was actually, took us through really from beginning to end on where he has been with the project and where he expects it to end up. So he's provided, and I think it's in everyone's package, if you want, I'll read it into the record. He's kind of provided an update on it, and I'd be happy to read it into the record for Tom. Title is Engine Number 18 Update for August 30th, 2018. Commissioners, I was asked to speak at the July meeting about Engine Number 18, but was not on the agenda, but I did show up halfway through the meeting in case there were any questions, but several of the railway commissioners were already gone. Recently, we have installed the throttle body, lapped and installed the throttle spool, linkage, and have repacked the throttle stem. So there'll be a test here at the end, by the way, to make sure everyone understood what all that was. We have tapped most of the steam valves off the main turret and have reworked the boiler check valves. We have prepared the dome stud holes for installation and fitting of new studs prior to sealing for initial pressure test of the boiler. We are currently preparing the inside door sheet corners to finish the hot rivet process. The post office lost the first batch of specialty rivets, and we have obtained some more. The next milestone will be to initially fill the boiler shell with water. This past week, we jacked up the locomotive and removed some broken driver springs for inspection and rebuilding. We again took engine number 29 out of service in Virginia City in order to guarantee its use for the Carson City trains. We took advantage of a diesel weekend, which gave us less than 2 weeks to find, ship, receive, remove, prepare, and install some new boiler tubes. We also made, some temporary repairs to keep the engine in service for the remainder of the season for the Carson City trains. We will, however, try it on the Virginia City run for Labor Day weekend. So far this season, I believe we've been able to accommodate all the riders who wanted to purchase tickets from Carson City to Virginia City, except for one day we chose to use 2 coaches due to the deteriorating condition of the number 29. 47 one-way bus riders were turned away. We have also been asked to use an extra car when 0 riders rode it. We prefer to use 2 cars with engine number 29 as it is less strain on the engine, and I feel that it will allow allow us to more reliably accommodate the entire season schedule. We have offered to use a 3rd coach when passenger conditions warrant, which I believe was every time this season except once. The number 29 has done a good job for many decades, and since 2009 has pulled most of the Railway Commission trains. As far as the scheduling question, nothing has changed. We still plan on using the number 18 for the 2019 season. Respectfully, Thomas.
Thanks, Nick. Any questions or comments from the board? Anything from the public? Okay, yeah, thanks again. We'll move on then to agenda item H, market report from Agentum Partners. Ms. Molly.
Good
Good afternoon, everybody, Commissioner and members of the board. Before I begin, did I get the packets to you in time to print out for everybody? No problem. I brought copies. I brought just enough for the board.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So for the record, my name is Molly Ellery with our Jensen Partners. We wanted to provide you guys a quick marketing update since we have been able to get our marketing dollars rolling, excuse me, for the 2018 season. We have a lot of really exciting things to report, and I'll move through it kind of quickly because some of it is a bit repetitive of what we've been seeing earlier this season. So looking basically at our digital marketing, everything we're seeing is that we are saving money while we are performing above average when it comes to people engaging on the sites or with the digital ads or with social media, anything that we're running digitally. So saving money but performing above average. And all of that's been broken down into the difference between display and social. Moving on to traditional media, for us, one of the most exciting things, we worked very closely with Elaine and Candy for a little bit of a West Wine marketing promotion that yielded a completely sold out event. Actually, as Mr. Gray's letter stated, we did have to turn away some passengers because we utilize not only radio, traditional marketing, but our digital and social paid media as well. We've also been able to use a lot of this for our Toast of the Canyon and our steam trains, and those are yielding really great responses and successes as well. We've provided some of the breakouts for where we've placed ads, what those impressions look like, how much they're circulating, and so how many people that they're reaching. We're seeing really great numbers and return on investment right there. Moving down, we go into our email marketing. We do send out e-blasts weekly, sometimes bi-weekly, depending on the need for the event. So if we do see that an event isn't performing as well as we would like, we'll send out an additional e-blast. But what you can see pretty much since we've started our e-blast campaign and our marketing is that we are performing quite a bit above average when it comes to the number of people that are clicking the emails and engaging with them. And then in turn, we're seeing those click-throughs on our website as well as in our social media and our ticket purchases. Again, we've broken that all out for you, so it's very clearly laid out. Again, our average open rate is 20.73%, so we're doing really well, like right above industry average. As you can see, the average click-through. Yes, sir.
Could you define open rate?
Of course. So the open rate, so what we're able to track is when you get an email to your inbox, if you're actually opening that email or not, or if you're just pushing it to the trash. So what we see typically with things like this is that people will see it, they'll just read that byline, and then they delete it right away. They don't even open it to view content. We're seeing a very high return on the people that are actually opening it and then clicking the link because all of the e-blasts are hyperlinked straight to our website so that people can look at it and purchase tickets.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. So those are performing very well, and we're seeing that in ticket purchases as well on the back end. In terms of our general public relations, we have engaged a street team to distribute posters. Carson City has been very helpful in helping us provide some of these posters. So we had posters for West Wine, our melodrama, Toast of the Canyon, Mark Twain, and an overall steam train. They were placed in markets all around the region. We distributed over 170 posters to over 70 different locations in a period of a month and a half, so that the posters were well seen, well distributed. We have secured some out-of-market media with PBS in Sacramento, as well as White River Productions, which runs the Trains and Railroads of the Past quarterly magazine. They are going to be running a little feature piece for us in the hopes of securing some media dollars in next season. We have established and are continuing to promote a great relationship with Lake Tahoe TV, KKOH, Biggest Little Radio. They help us with ticket giveaways if we're seeing a weekend that's not performing as high, as well as just constant mentions on there so that we're always in that public eye. And then again, just a couple of highlights. West Wine, we did secure some really great media coverage, and again, that yielded a sold-out event. and then our Toast of the Canyons with John Tyson. Mr. Tyson did appear on Colo and KKOH with us, which was great. And we have 2 new events that are Toast of the Canyons on September 22nd and 29th. Both of those are going to be used for Yelp Elite events. So each train, we had to divide it because the groups were large. Each train is going to have 70 Yelp Eliters who are going to help promote and tweet and share on social media and generally just engage the train in their scope. And with that, as well as the promotions that we're running, both of those trains are nearly sold out. And then the last thing, we provided some sample creative. These are some of the e-blasts we've run, the things that you would see on Nevada Appeal. We had a page takeover. So when you went to nevadaappeal.com, you saw our banners on the side. We have purchased ad space. When you go to certain websites, you'll see the banners above at the top of the website that promote VNT. All of those do click back to our website to engage people for tickets, as well as to make sure that they're aware of the events we have going on. So that's just an update. Again, all of those details have been provided. If you folks have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Board, any comments? Everybody good? Go? Yeah, okay.
Good update. Thank you.
Yeah.
Of course. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Yep. Is there anything from the public on that item? No? Okay, great. We'll move on then. Go to agenda item I for discussion only, General Manager Report. Ms. Elaine.
I'm actually going to give you a brief report today because I'm leaning on the board now to report on some of the things that they've been helping with, and I just want to thank the board because you've all been easy to contact. You've also, when I've applied you to various tasks or areas that we need attention, Stan with the facility and the maintenance track issues, Joel with the financing and Carson City group, and then Denny, of course, with the marketing, Carson City, Nick, number 18, meeting Tom out there. And then Jack has a great report for everyone today that's very exciting. But it's been good to work with our contractors and our commissioners, and I'd like to have you report on the areas that you're working with us on, because I think it's credit to you all. I do have just a couple items, and there has been a little bit of an investment, just things here and there that I want you guys to know about. We do have secure cameras now up to oversee the depot. We have what's called the ring cameras, and they're being set up right now so that we can see if there's somebody outside while we're there alone. I work at the depot quite a bit, or at night. We can see if people are coming around the depot. Also, we have 4 new benches, and it's starting to look like a depot. And I purchased those at Lowe's. Jack Wagon installed them. They look great. We're using some other things to enhance the depot appearance as well. We now have a stage inside the depot for performances, and hopefully we'll be able to get you out there for a ride, so then you'll know what pre-boarding is like now. It's fun. It's just a fun time before they even get on the train to head to Virginia City, because we have a comedy show, and it's on stage. I do need to ask for one of our commissioners. I know, Nick, you were the lead on the Department of Emergency Management, but I know that now you're taking over the 18. You've got a very busy schedule yourself. But the letter that we sent to them asking to allow me to be the representative, nope. I'm still going to need to take a commissioner with me because I am a contractor. And so I'll need one of you to say, okay, I'll take that task on, and we'll go meet with Sue's Coyote.
I'll be happy to go.
You'll do it?
Sure.
Oh, great.
Sure.
Thanks, Nick. I just really didn't know if I could put that on you again.
Yeah.
But, oh, good.
Happy to.
Okay. And then we can review it and get our funding reimbursed. And lastly, Polar Express. We started meeting last month. We had another meeting this month, and our full team has been pulled together and everybody knows their responsibilities. We did a full list of things that we needed to fix last year, things that were challenging, and now we're on to checking off those things on the schedule that need to be done. Number one was the sound system. And thanks to you all, we did order it, it did come in. He will be installing it soon, and then we as the staff will be out there training on how to use the system. There's cordless mics and there's actual speakers in the depot, night and day. It's going to be a great experience. So thank you for that. And Polar Express, moving forward. That's it.
Great. Elaine, could you add me or send me a calendar reminder next time you guys meet with the Polar Express? I know I couldn't make it, I didn't have it on my calendar last time, but I'd sure like to be a part of that and help out.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be great.
Cool.
Thanks.
Any other questions or comments for Elaine? Anything from the public? Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to Agenda J for discussion only, ticket sales report.
Yes, thank you. Excuse me. Do they have the handout, Elaine?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so you do have a handout of the most current ticket sales. And as you can see, so far for regular steam and diesel, we've sold a total of 4,249 tickets for a total revenue of $197,328.42. So that's our regular steam and diesel. We have our last diesel weekend coming up this weekend, and when I left the house today, we were up to, I believe it was 90 tickets for Saturday, and we're moving up on Sunday. I think we're getting close to the 50 mark, and we've been getting a lot of walk-ups on Sundays especially, so it's picking up a little bit. And then for your special event trains, I kind of broke those all down for you so you could see what we've done so far. And that we did sell out the Toast of the Canyon, as Molly mentioned, with 120 passengers this last time. And that was due to the attraction of John Tyson. Everybody that I talked to anyway and sold tickets to, they were all really excited about coming to hear John Tyson. So that worked out really nice, and that was a very fun train. And then we have a melodrama coming up on the 15th that was sold out or is sold out due to 2 groups that are riding on that train. So we're looking forward to that. And you should definitely, if you haven't been out to see the new depot, you should come and see it. It really looks fun. It looks like it's just a party waiting to happen. So you should come out and see it. And then the last of the special events, of course, are the 22nd and 29th wine trains and Mark Twain on the 13th of October. And I think it looks from all it looks of things, those should be pretty good too. And then for your Polar count, so far, we have sold 1,352 VIP tickets for Polar Express, leaving us 472 to still sell. That's a revenue of $110,410. And then for our coach tickets, we've sold 1,863 tickets so far, leaving us 10,527 left to sell, and our total revenue from coach is $87,777. So we've totaled the grand total sales of Polar tickets, 3,215. Grand total revenue, $198,187. And just so you know, I did check to see at this time last year where we were with sales of Polar Express tickets compared to where we are now. But we started selling tickets last year on June 27th. And this year we started selling a little bit later, almost a month later. So we are a little bit behind what we did last year, but not that much. And so I'm very sure that this will pick up as soon as people get settled into the routine of school and realizing the holidays are coming and they need to buy tickets. And I'm getting more calls every day for Polar Express.
Would you please repeat how many VIP tickets are going to be available for this season?
Total is, oh, now you want me to add? Okay. 472, so that's 437, 2,734, I think.
Okay.
Or am I wrong?
Okay, so you're almost halfway there then.
Yeah.
Okay, and then on the coach, how many?
On the coach, we've got, it would look to me like the total of, let's see, 1,863. 12,490
Okay,
total.
all right. Okay, so
Okay.
just a dent there, okay.
Yeah, we
All right.
we got some work to do,
Yeah.
but we'll do it.
So historically, because you've seen several Polar Expresses already. So when's the hottest month when they start buying? Because it seemed like every time I looked into it, they were already sold out.
Yeah. I think it's going to really pick up this month and next month, now, September and October, now that people are getting used to their fall routines and thinking about the holidays. When we first did it, it sold out quicker because it was new. You know, people were just excited, and they tried to get tickets the year before and they couldn't, and so, but now it's kind of evened out a little bit. And we probably, one of the reasons we offer those, what we call twilight rates for the 8 o'clock trains on Sundays and Thursdays, is because those are the last to sell, especially in November and early December. And those, we may not sell all of those.
Yeah, okay.
But I'm looking at the week leading up till Christmas, we're doing pretty darn good right there, so.
Thank you.
Elaine and Candy, offhand, marketing campaign, what are we spending on that particular event? And do you know when that is due to kick in? Because that probably correlate to Jack's question there too.
Yeah, Mike can comment on that.
Kind of what that all entails.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. For the record, Mike Draper with Argentum Partners. To answer your question, Mr. Chair, the overall budget, the paid spend that we're doing this year is around $45,000. If we're trying to tie in as much to both promote our current events and Polar Express. So this is going to be a rough estimate. There's not a single block that we just said this is just for Polar Express, but it's probably a quarter of what we're spending is dedicated or is being used to also market Polar Express. And we're reallocating those dollars even as we go based on how events are doing. This week, we stacked some of it up towards the end of October. But also to answer the question regarding ticket sales in the months, we haven't really seen any of that Polar Express advertising out there yet.
Correct.
So it's just starting to go out there. So to Candy's point, I would expect that those marketing dollars are also going to generate additional ticket sales over the next month. So that is a primary purpose of all our marketing. It'll be two purpose, one to promote the event that's going on and one to promote Polar Express, and that's just starting to happen.
So what Mike is also referring to is we did piggyback. So we piggybacked on the Polar Express on some of our other event trains, but we do have to get authorization from Rail Events on whatever we run, whatever advertisements that we do, if it includes more than just the dates and times. And so you're set up to send that out, and we should be approved after September 10th?
Yeah, exactly.
So we
Jack,
just
that's-
stacked some of it towards October and the end of September, really to get there. You know, I think we're all hoping that at the last, that'll just be a last push with some remaining tickets. But even some of the posters that have gone out that Molly referred to from the street teams now include the Polar Express dates and let people know that they're on sale.
Yeah, no, I think with that amount of budget, you find a lot of times in these events, you can shoot it out there too early, and it won't have the same effect as it will the month or two prior to the event, and that's exactly what's going on.
Last year, Walmart already had their Christmas decorations up after Labor Day, you know.
So one suggestion, just to keep in mind, and I know we're our outreach, and this year we're focusing on running this train in the black, and we've made some pretty significant strides in that direction. With the Polar Express, because we are looking at a lot of return riders, we've made some pretty significant improvements in the Polar Express last year with Tom and his crew, now with the new sound system. So we might be able to, earmark some of that marketing effort of the local marketing on the improvements to the experience.
Well, why don't we, given that, we have e-blasts also scheduled, and that's something that we should plan on dedicating one of our e-blasts that, as Molly indicated, have pretty great engagement with our return riders to really highlight the fact that experience has been improved.
And that also, Joel, Joel and I had a discussion, and your new marketing person is going to start attending our marketing meetings. And if we could also, have VCTC also have a representative, especially when it comes to Polar Express and the rest of the season, to finish off the season, it'd be very, very helpful if we can start that cross-promotion that we had in mind in the earlier part of the season, because that would give us a big boost. I will let you know that our trains, and our goal right now is to fill those trains full capacity, 140. If we're not getting the third car, you've heard me say it before, we don't break even. We only break even when we have 150 passengers. 140 passengers, we're still going to ride in the red. Yeah. We're still going to use Polar Express money for our regular season. It's just a fact of life. But when we are making these decisions, especially with the marketing, Argentum's been great. When I've asked them, take it off of the events, put it on the regular runs. Let's get let's promote these weekend rides. And they've been wonderful at moving the dollars around to do that. I did have to make a decision a couple of weeks ago and pulled some Friday trains because of the fact that each train costs a certain amount of money. And if we could push our passengers, we may lose some, but we could push our passengers to 2 days that we have the steam, we'll do it. So again, third car, we're in the black. 2 cars, we're in the red, but we can manage because of Polar Express.
And one last point on Polar Express, we haven't begun our earned media push, and sometimes you hear us say earned media and paid media. Paid media is paid advertising, is dollars that we're spending to put our message in whatever outlet. Earned media is using relationships and pitching news stories and taking some of the things that you guys have talked about today and going to the news and saying this is a story. We haven't begun to do that yet with Polar Express. We've been focused on some of our other event trains, and so Polar Express, that will definitely be the last 2 weeks of September. We'll be pushing that quite a bit as well, depending on how many tickets are left.
Mike, I was in Truckee a couple of weeks ago, and I went to the Chamber of Commerce and was talking to the gal and told her my affiliation with the V&T, and she said, well, get us information for Polar Express. We've been waiting for it. So, it's starting to be an annual, I think, tradition, that they're looking forward to information.
Where was that, Stan?
Truckee.
The Chamber of Commerce?
Yeah.
We'll make sure to get them information immediately.
Great. Any other questions? All good? Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
Sure, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we'll move on to agenda item K for discussion only, attorney's report. Mr. Rowe.
Not much to report, Denny. Just the routine stuff, reviewing the minutes and the agendas and that there haven't been any issues that have cropped up. So
good.
It's a good thing when I don't have anything to report.
I like it. Good. Is there any questions of the board for Mike? No? Okay, we'll move on to agenda L for discussion only, engineering report. Ken.
Thanks, Denny. In your packet, there's a little summary outline, if you will, most of the items that are current there, and I'm not necessarily going to go through all of those. We already talked about the holding tank upgrade. We're working on regular maintenance and inspections, of course. Trying to finish up a little bit of work on the storm damage contract that was authorized last year, and thanks to Elaine and Nick, hopefully we can get with Sue's Coyote and maybe we can get some money out of those guys for the 3 projects we have completed. So that'd be nice to see not a huge reimbursement. I think it's like $35,000, but we'll take it. The big, I'm going to save this one for last. Still trying to get the signal bridge moved from Draco. That was part of the contract when we sold that, and I can't complain about the slowness of the process because I'm trying to get it done for free. And it turns out we may have to help Robert Matthews in the cost of a crane. He's going to provide the tractor and lowboy, but trying to get that structure loaded up on the lowboy might require a crane. And I said, if it comes down to it, we'll pay for that. It is what it is. It's our obligation to get that off that property. That's about the only thing there. I did put it at the list at the very end, current slow orders. That's what's been issued to the Transportation Department, i.e. Tom Gray, for slow orders we have due to track issues. The Chinese wall really is not a track, the last one, milepost 12.4 to 12.5. It isn't really a track issue. We just like to go slow there because it's a long ways to the bottom. And I think everybody likes to look out over there and fear for their life anyway, but I'd like to do for them for the fear for their life slowly. One of the concerns, and having some extensive discussions with Elaine over this last week, and I think we're all on the same page now, was looking at my copy that I'd had of the approved budget. I was concerned because I only saw 2 items, and it was current contracts that were related to, one item was related to inspections and maintenance, and there was one item in for Gabe's contract, which was about $47,000, which is more or less covers his inspections and maintenance. And then there was a line item in there for contract for KL Door Consulting for $45,000. I'm going, boy, that'd be really good, except if I get half of that this year, that would surprise me. There's no way I'm going to get, unless you come up with some kind of a great design project for me. That'd be good. But, so my engineering estimate is way over budgeted. Again, I suspect it's going to be in the range of $20,000 versus 45. And also, I had to put together a list, and it's pretty much the same list we discussed last time. Granted, not the whole board was here, and pretty much the same list that I'd given to Denny way back in when I was begging for money before we did the budget. Anyway, that's included here, and I've identified, including contingency, about $56,000 of work that I didn't think was budgeted, and was getting very concerned about that we were going to get into deferred maintenance mode. But it turns out that the correct copy of the budget's got a line item in there for about, I think it was $38,000 of actual maintenance work that I was unaware of. So if I add the $38,000 plus what you're not going to spend on me, I think we've got enough money to do pretty much all of the work on those items. You know, I was joking with Elaine. I said, you know, I don't necessarily like it, but I'm always the guy with bad news, because it's like, I need more money to maintain the track, and it's like, go away, we don't have any more money. But it's an important thing to keep up with. Defer it if we absolutely have to. Try to keep that to a minimum. Again, we're looking at a $35 million investment in this project, and you know, spending $20,000 a year, and you're going to cut it. Probably it's more on the item, maintain that track, it would average out to about $100,000 or maybe just under $10,000 a mile. So I think we're good on proceeding with that, and we've actually ordered the ballast that I want to get down. We haven't spread ballast on the track for 2 years now, and we need maintenance ballast. And Gabe's going to go ahead and get the pre-emergent material ordered so we can get that down. We like to put that down in October before the rains come, because cheatgrass tends to grow first, and it grows first in October if there's any rain, and that's the biggest pain we've got up there as far as grass. There's other vegetation we're working on moving, but that's what that pre-emergent really takes care of. So I'm a lot more comfortable we're going to be able to get most, if not all, of this work done this year, and we'll just I'll work with Elaine. We'll figure out what we can and what we can't do. A couple things not on the list. You notice there's a new gas line that's going in along Highway 50. Paiute Pipeline is putting that in. Well, it's for Southwest Gas. It's come on, the actual contractor. Anyway, it's a Paiute Pipeline. I'm aware of the project. Just to keep an eye on what they're doing around the abutment of the footing, looking at their plans, there should not be an issue. But I asked Gary Luce, who's got an inspector that goes to Dayton. I said, would you please stop by that project? And he's introduced himself to the superintendent out there, and what they're planning to do is pretty much as per the plan that they'd submitted to us way last year. I don't visualize there's a problem. They'd have to really go out of their way, but there's a cluster of pipes right at the base of that footing. I really want to see that hole when it's open, because we relocated 2 gas lines and a fiber optic line, and I think a telecommunication line. Now they're putting in a 16-inch gas line in that same cluster, so it's going to be interesting. Gabe's work's underway. One of the things we're going to have to do, Elaine, we're going to have to provide NDEP with a as-built of the holding tank when it goes in. Carson City will provide some inspection for that as a portion of what the permit we need to pull them. But we probably need to have, I was thinking having Gary's guy coming up and doing a formal inspection as-built with that work, and then I can work with them to do a little as-built. It's pretty simple drawing, there's not much to it. But just to alert you to that we got a little inspection cost with that, shouldn't be much. Last thing that we've got coming up is, and this is included in my budget that I don't have to is our annual inspections. Again, we've tried to do annual inspections along the railroad to establish priorities for what we need to do maintenance-wise, what we can put off. And the one we absolutely have to do by federal law, of course, is the annual bridge inspection. There's some work that needs to be done. It's mostly cosmetic on that, I know, even without looking at it again. The ones that we don't have to do by law, we don't have to inspect the tunnel. We don't have to inspect our crossings. We don't have to inspect our culverts. We don't have to inspect our signs, but that's part of the process that we set up. We want to look at all that stuff and say, okay, this is what needs to be fixed. I say we don't have to inspect our culverts and ditches, but the FRA's got this one little statement that says, thou shalt maintain your drainage. And that's pretty much what it says. Doesn't tell you how to do it, but unless you look at that stuff, you don't know what needs to get cleaned. Gabe does a lot during the regular year, but that annual inspection I think is really important to keep a high standard on this railroad. And again, it's a good railroad. It's built very well. I think that's one of the reasons the maintenance costs have, quite frankly, been as low as they have been on this project. But we got to keep plugging away at it. So that's about all I've got, other than to answer any questions.
Any questions for Ken?
Ken, what needs to be done on the bridge?
There's some rust on some of the bolts and whatnot, and I think there's a bolt missing. Again, it's got bolts and rivets. Rivets are from back in 1960 when it was built. The bolts that were put on recently. So there's a couple bolts that need to be replaced. I think we can get most of that work from the bridge structure itself. I'm going to get back with Kent Hanford, who's a former associate of mine in Manhart and also subcontracted to me now. He's done all the bridge inspection. He's got a punch list of what has to be done. Some of the items were also what came up on NDOT's semi-annual inspection. They're required to, they inspect the bridge every other year. We have to inspect it once a year. It's mostly cosmetic. The worst thing would be, I think, is if we have to get under the structure itself, we would have to involve getting some traffic controlling and NDOT permit to do that. And I'm working on that list. I'd like to get a little bit done on that. If nothing else, Stan, so I don't have to see the same items on NDOT's list saying you need to do this and this and this. There's nothing structurally of a concern with that bridge. It's going to stay there long after we're gone. So.
Other question, ballast. How much ballast are we talking about?
Gabe and I went through that highway rail inspection, and we developed a list by milepost, and we said, okay, in this location, what do you think? We need a quarter car ballast. One car is about 60 tons, or half car. And so it was an intuitive type, this is how much ballast we need. Bottom line, we came up with a list, and by the time I put it into the spreadsheet, it turned out to be about 6 cars or 240 tons of ballast, which translates into, from Danny Kuhn's cost, at about $3,000. It's $1,275 a ton. He's charging us that, and if I use the term yards, I meant tons. And that is actually loaded at the North Pole site, at the pit. What happens is, generally speaking, after the regular season completes, Tom will take his one ballast car, park it down there, Danny will load it up, then we'll arrange for a work train to go dump that car. Hopefully, we can strategize that so that Danny can reload that car maybe twice, maybe even 3 times in a day, because the work train costs are fairly extensive. It's $130, $140 an hour for an engine operated from Tom. So, so that's what probably more than you want to know about ballast.
Okay, thank you.
Is 6 cars enough? Probably not, but it gets us going in the right direction.
Any other questions for Kim? Just one comment on that. The budget, obviously, as our first year going into it, we put things in probably different buckets where it could have been a different line item. I know that you mentioned $38,000 for track maintenance. Some of the professional services, we budgeted $112,000, and I think some of that probably included some hard costs.
Yeah.
Looking at it, so it's just a matter of the wrong bucket, I think.
Well,
So we have it
can clear
there.
that up next time around, just because I'm getting old, I get confused.
No, it needs to be right, but our crystal ball was a little fuzzy going into this thing, so we're good. We're good. Okay, let's move on to agenda item M, commissioner reports and comments. We'll start off here on the right. Mr. McGuffey.
Okay. A couple weeks ago, I made arrangements to sit with governor's staff. Governor was just coming off his honeymoon, so I didn't get a chance to see him. But and the reason I did this,
But you're Mike.
oops, I'm sorry. Okay. So a couple weeks ago, I went to see the governor and ended up sitting with the staff. I took Elaine and I'm trying. God, I can't believe I'm trying to blank. Sorry.
The handsome guy.
Sorry about that. Anyway, the reason why I did this was just to kind of start some dialogue on getting money for the train. And so, you know, Elaine's doing a great job. She's doing a great job with only having 2 train cars and not having the steam train at will. And we're not doing as well as we'd like, but we're still in the black, and that's a hell of a lot better than this train's been in years, you know. But to finish the river loop was the last price we had was about $6 million. For us to save up $1 million would take 20 years at the rate we're going. I mean, we're just not generating that kind of revenue. So I felt, well, this is a state board. I consider it a state train too. So maybe I can get the state more involved in a permanent basis. So I went to the governor because he likes our train. You know, he was happy to sign our SB 57 bill. He even borrowed a original lantern from the V&T Railway to have in the picture that we took together. And I also learned that he still has that lantern in his office. Yeah. And he's got a lot of train pictures in his office as well. So, though he wasn't there, we got to sit down with Mike Wilden. He's the governor's chief of staff. And then Pamela Robinson, she's the policy coordinator there. And so we kind of pled our case as like we'd like to try to get the state to, you know, give us like an annual income to kind of help get this train, you know, the reconstruction of it done. And if they needed history, so we kind of walked them through the history that we knew. You know, we're all fairly newbies to this. And by the time we were done, they were suggesting this grant, that grant. Pamela is going to look into a couple of places where she thinks there's easy money for us. Mike suggested that we put a proposal together, try a 2 or 3 year plan, because these monies that they give, this is the governor's 1301 account is what they call it. And this is like a pile of money he sits on that he can put towards any group he wants to. And like, let's say the Boys and Girls Club, I think it was 62 million or something like that. It was like, and we were I just walked in asking for $1 million a year, you know. And so basically he said $1 million is like nothing, is like a drop in the bucket. So you might want to reconsider your numbers because it's only for a 2 year, you know, 1 to 2 years at a time. And it says, and these clubs, they just reapply for the same thing every year and year and just keep getting it. So once you're in the loop, he says that's the good part of it. So he's supposed to, now I know Elaine's been trying to contact Mike. Mike offered to give us a sample proposal that we can kind of plug and play and rewrite it in our fashion. And he said that though they like to have everything by the 1st of September, he says it's okay to fudge a couple weeks. So, but we really don't want to fudge a couple weeks. I like to get it done. So, but I guess I'm gonna have to give Mike a call myself, you know, and say, hey, we need this proposal. And it's just something to email. So anyway, it's basically, let's have a plan. They need to know what the money's going to be going to. And he said, and we told him we were looking at a 10-year plan, but he said, go ahead and make a 10-year plan. Maybe you want to get this done in the next couple of years, like the river loop, or then after that we want to rebuild the depot and make it look like an Old West depot, and then we want to move up towards Virginia City and start looking at. I talked to Pat Whitten about this too. Maybe look at that freight depot from the railway point of view. The guy that owns it, he's kind of anti-government kind of guy, and hard to get along with, from what I understand. I always got along with Pierce fine, but I know friends that say he's actually pretty good, and he'll probably work with the railway before he does with the county, to speak of. So because then he knows it's going to be used for what it's going to intended for, I guess. So anyway, that freight depot has always been kind of like in the crosshairs from, I think, the day one when the V&T Railway started to bring that train all the way into town, and that would just change everything on the V&T Railway. Because right now nobody knows it's there unless he honks the whistle. So anyway, so he wants us to put a plan together and get on the list, and it doesn't mean you're going to automatically start getting money. It's going to be up to the governor. Now, unfortunately, Governor Sandoval is leaving, but we still want to get on his list before he leaves, and because he's a train buff, and we don't know where the other two guys are going, but we want to at least get on the list, and then next year we can start pressuring them. But we will. It was also suggested also that we create a BDR to submit to the legislature. And then to do that, Mike even offered getting someone to write the BDR for us, and then we would need a sponsor, which would be Wheeler. Who was that?
Ben Kiekefer? Is that his name?
Yeah. Him and Settlemeyer. Thank you. Yeah. So if we get those two behind us, we shouldn't have a problem. So that's my news. Thank you.
Okay,
Jack, can I comment real quick? We're not starting at square one on that application, because we have all the right-of-way down in the canyon out to what used to be the easterly boundary of what was formerly owned by Bertinoli. So we have basically 2.6 miles of right-of-way in hand right now.
Well, that's not the problem. Right-of-way is not a problem. It's just getting money, because then the money we can use wherever we need it, basically, for that.
I understand, but I think it to encourage the fact that that we're not starting from scratch.
Yeah, so it was recommended by Mike on this proposal to keep it simple, 2 pages. So we don't want to clutter up minds with right-of-ways and stuff like that. I understand your concern.
There's a couple of neat photos you can put on 2 pages in the file that I could show you. Here's what that canyon looks like right now.
I think they're just going to be focused on, here's the V&T Railway, they need money to finish this loop on the river and take it up to Virginia City. And so I don't want to boggle their minds with all the details.
2 pages is real easy, but you've got a lot of resources you could amplify and drill down if there's any interest in that.
Right, thank you.
And Jack, if you don't mind if I add, also, again, it's the 150th anniversary of the railway from Carson City to Gold Hill, and that is this commission's railway. So 2019, and we've already spoke about how we're going to market it, and so that is pushing the bill for 2019 is a great idea.
Yes.
And once we brought up the history and the fact that it was the sesquicentennial,
that kind of opened their eyes.
that opened their eyes.
Yes.
It changed the mood of the room.
So in our proposal, we might throw that as a little blurb. Yeah.
great. Thanks, Jack. Nick? Anything? Nope. Move over here to Stan. Anything, Stan?
Yeah, in July, Elaine and I met with Darren Schultz, head of the Public Works, and Jennifer Budge from Parks to talk about signage. And we had a great meeting. We talked about highway signage is what we're talking about. And they left saying, give us some time and we'll come back to it. And they've been coordinating this with Elaine. And this week they said we are almost ready to put the signs up. There's problems on the pipeline side of the highway. Isn't that right? I don't know. There's some right-of-way issues there, but go ahead, Elaine.
Well, it's actually near the highway, the idea was that standard recreational area signage, where they don't have a template for a train, or, like a steam train, or frisbee golf, things like that. So being that it's the federal government, they go by the strict rules of you have to use these symbols. We don't represent any of that. So they're working on maybe creating a symbol. They did those, say, yesterday, that anything off of Flint, they've got full authority. They'll start working on the Flint signage. Right. We picked a location for the visual aid, or the billboard, that's going to go into where the chip piles are at the landfill. Yep, and they're going to build the hill for us so that it's up higher. The guys at the landfill will do that, and they're going to start it'll be done by October, and we've got full permission for all of that. And then tell them about the barriers.
So while we were having the meeting, I said, is there any chance we could get some rock to kind of line the parking lot where the drop-off is? And Darren said, well, let me look at all this. So yesterday they met with Elaine, and the barricades that they put on the highway, well, Carson City has a whole bunch of those in the chip lot, and they're going to give us those, and we'll line the whole parking lot with those. So I want to add to what you guys have already said. Darren and Jennifer have been wonderful to work with. They really are. Public Works has just always been great. And I also want to thank you, Ken, for all your help on this holding tank. You've been a great resource. We tried to identify some improvements that we thought was necessary at the Eastgate facility, and I got a great bid from Western Plumbing. They gave us a great discount on 5 toilets and the 4 faucets. We've got a bid on replacing the entry door in the ticket office. There's something, the benches. We've already got the benches installed. And we've got one more, and when RMAC comes out to do the holding tank, we want them to check around sealing that building off. So we're making some progress. And Elaine is, you got to see she's got a whole bunch of furniture she stole from the cabin in the sky or somewhere. It really looks nice with the stage, and she got a 60-inch TV, so we
repurposed.
So anyway, we're making progress. Thank you.
Danny, could I just make real quick? Your sign location, don't forget about the fact that we have 21-acre right-of-way grant from the BLM on the easterly side of Flint Drive, okay? And we're supposed to be continuing to improve that site so we don't lose that transportation grant. If you're going to build a mound with a sign, I would suggest you would have a lot more visibility from Highway 50 from that location than from the chip recycle area. I'll show you.
Great, Stan, great update. Joel.
Okay, first, Elaine touched on earlier with the financing from the Carson City, primarily the Carson City Tourism and Culture Authority. During the September 10th meeting, I've got a new board in place. This year we've had 4 vacancies on the board. We've replaced 4 of our 5 members that happened last month through the Board of Supervisors. I've had a chance over the last 6 years to work with a few different, new members coming into the board, and I'm confident this board will do a great job. They bring a lot of institutional knowledge and love for Carson City, so I'm looking forward to working with them. With that, though, the funding, looking at potential funding for operations to offset the operational costs, one of the things that came to mind early on when we started looking at the budget, there's a carryover account, a fund that was set up during the recession, the shortfall in the economy. We were short on our bond payments. There was a second 2% of the current room tax at the time of 10% dedicated to providing funding to make the bond payment. In that carryover account, it's estimated that the end of the year, fiscal year 18, that after our audit will be roughly $575,000 in that carryover account. I've put together an action item for the new board to take the $575,000 minus the $100,000 minimum balance on it. Currently, the bond payment is $405,000 a year, so we're still paying off that bond through 2023, and the bond payments between now and 2023 are roughly $405,000. We're not bringing in $405,000 with our 2% that's dedicated, so there's going to be some of this money carried over, about $140,000 we'll have to hold on to in that fund to make that bond payment through 2023. June of 2023 is when it sunsets. With that, it provides roughly $335,000 in that carryover account that if we look at, taking it in equal increments between now and the sunset of the bond, it would provide us an opportunity to kick in roughly $65,000, $67,000 to the operations. It's a little lower than what I originally had estimated, but I also wasn't taking into account the $100,000 minimum balance in that fund. But it is an opportunity. I will talk with the board. They understand the asset and the investment that we've made as a community into the V&T. The money can only be used for certain things, and when it was set up in that, and this is one of those. It is currently being reviewed by the Carson City DA's office as our legal counsel. I didn't, unfortunately, hear back before the meeting today, but I'm confident that it will come back that it is a proper use of the carryover. So we're looking once again on September 10th as an action item. I've invited Elaine to be there at the board meeting if there's any questions that come up with the board. But we're looking at being able to provide, roughly $65,000 to $70,000 in funding each fiscal year between now and equal 5 payments until 2023. With that, talking about the new board, I have to say that I was in a year contract when I retired back in October. And the past board had asked if I would stay on and represent them here on the commission. And there has been an interest voiced by one of our new commissioners to go ahead and come on and represent the interests of the CTA on this board. So I have to say that this will be my last board meeting. So as of September 10th, unless anything changes between now and then, one of those new commissioners will be coming on to represent the CTA and the Tourism Authority in Carson City. We also, as mentioned, Molly mentioned earlier, and I think it was mentioned twice, but we have a new marketing manager. Our past marketing manager, Kyle Horvath, moved on as the new executive director of White Pine County Tourism, and he's, I'm happy to say he's doing a fantastic job and adapting well to Ely, Nevada. We did a nationwide recruitment for the position, trying to once again get the best that we can, always trying to advance the changes we've made in the last 6 years. And we ended up with 37 very qualified applicants, of which we narrowed down 15 that were, much more qualified than what we were putting in, interviewed the top 5, and we offered employment to Lydia Berge. And Lydia will start with the Bureau on the 14th of September. She's recently, 2 years ago, moved to Carson Valley. She brings a wealth of marketing knowledge. I'm very excited, although she hasn't worked in the tourism industry. What she brings in an understanding of digital marketing and geolocating marketing and everything we've moved into in the last couple of years, she's going to be fantastic for Carson City and take us to another level. So with that, I want to thank everyone the opportunity. We've worked through a transition that I think has proven to be very successful. I think there was a lot of strength behind the move with SB 57, and it's proven to be beneficial for the V&T. So I'm not going anywhere until January. My contract with the CTA runs through January. Don't really know what the Bureau's going to want, but I bought a big fifth wheel and a new diesel, and I think it may be heading south, so I don't know what the direction they're heading, but I know what direction I'm heading. So with that, I want to thank everybody. Thanks.
So I got a question for you, Joel.
Yeah.
So you're saying a commissioner, is it a supervisor or is it a commissioner on the tourism board?
It's a commissioner. So with the writing of the SB 57, the representative is coming from the selection of the commission. The CTA commission will select, the CTA commission had selected me at the beginning of this process to represent them on the board. Now the representative will be the current chair, the new chair of that commission will be coming on. And that's barring, once again, they'll have to nominate and select him when he puts that on the 10th.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Great, thank you, Joel, and thank you for all your help. It's been a long year,
Yeah.
but we're definitely headed in the right direction. We've got a lot of great things happen. The only thing I really have is, I actually have two, real quick, and we'll get this going, is I have a picture here, I'll pass it around. This is a die cast of an old V&T wheel die cast from the 1800s that we found in the Gold Hill Depot. Some of you guys may have seen it sitting over in the corner there if you've ever been in the depot and kind of wonder what it was. But we're gonna put that on loan, if you will, to the Eastgate Depot. I talked to Elaine about it, and we're going to haul it down there and put it out where people can see. I'll pass this around. It's a pretty cool piece, and it's about 4.5, 5 foot tall and wide. Again, it's for making wheels in the 1800s, so it's kind of a cool piece. It's not being appreciated in the Gold Hill Depot with obviously not that much traffic, so we want to put it down there and let people see what it is. It was in the corner at the Gold Hill Depot. Yeah, it's really cool. And then finally, next weekend, get your camel race tickets. The train leaves a little early, so you can make the show. So, which is cool. First time we've done that. If I don't have anything else, then I think we are adjourned. Thanks.
So good luck, Joe.